It's all thumbs up.
We get a lot of those, but we're going to start anyway. It says it's streaming now, so sorry about those early technical difficulties. Maybe I just double clicked that button. My apologies. All right, let's start out again talking about Isak Cruz and Yuriorkis Gamboa. James, I'm going to come to you just because you have been a little bit more critical. Did he outperform? Did he impress you? Give me your thoughts on that fight, sir.
Well, he was impressive. Heavy pressure fighter, coming in with, big punches, always moving forward, always on the attack, what they call the Mexican style. Classic. So good for him. He did well. And he'll continue to improve. On the other hand, his opposition, his opponent, Yuriorkis Gamboa, at 40 years, he's been through a lot of wars. He's been knocked down. He's been knocked out. He's been taken out a few times, and it was a nice pick for Isaac Cruz. Pitbull had it his way.
I don't know if I completely agree. Like I do, but at the same time, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Gamboa went 12 rounds with Gervonta Tank Davis, and that was on like one leg, right?
I don't know about the one leg thing.
Not sure. I could have swore he had surgery, but
He went 12 rounds with Tank. Not only did he do that, he went 12 rounds with Devin Haney.
That's so true.
So he's moving up and moving forward, and that's all great. I just like to see him improve on some of his boxing skills. The guy's tough. He's conditioned. He's doing things right, but a lot of rough edges I see there.
Well, the style off bat, I can say I don't think his defense is really going to get much better. I don't even think that's a concern for him.
Yeah, right.
I don't think he's working on that. I don't think he has plans to work on that.
No.
He's offense first. My best offense is my best defense is my offense. But regardless,
that is correct. I agree with that.
Yeah, he makes for good TV. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I do partially agree. Anybody in their younger ages here, rewind Gamboa 8 years, maybe he has a lot more problems with him. So I could definitely see your point there. But Rob, James, what did you think of Cruz Gamboa? Did it even make a statement? Did it matter that he treated Gamboa like that? Sorry.
So first of all, it absolutely matters to answer your question. Absolutely, because he's the prospect nobody didn't see coming into this. He's the prospect nobody didn't see because he was a last-minute replacement for Tank. He drew Tank into deep waters, into a closer fight than what Tank even wanted. And then he came out here and showcased himself in this bout with Gamboa. So again, the measuring stick everybody is looking at is Gamboa went 12 rounds with Tank. Gamboa went 12 rounds with Haney. What can Cruz do to negate that? And Cruz put him on his ass. And not only that, he put him on his ass in every round. Every round. This kid has some serious killer instinct. James, the flaws are definitely there. Definitely there. But like Lucas said, he doesn't seem to care because he's a brawler style. That's the style I think now. Not even more Mexican, so to speak. He's more of a brawler style. He's just going to go at you and look for the big shot. And what impressed me the most was how he was able to do that multiple times on Gamboa. And look, you can say Gamboa's old and he's up there in age no matter how much you want. The guy did not want to get knocked out in that fight. He really didn't. And he got up quick every time he got knocked down. It was inevitable he was going to get knocked out. And that's because of what the pressure Cruz was able to put on him. Cruz put that pressure on him. He wasn't taking no for an answer. He was getting his knockout. Give the man his just due.
Gamboa did kind of give up his Cuban discipline, though, and he did kind of go to trade, right? I mean, James, go ahead.
Yeah, not a good idea, but the idea is that it's one of those things where I see him improving. I see Isaac Cruz improving. like we saw Munguia improve so much. He's a totally different fighter from what he was a few years ago, 3-4 years ago. There's like a handful of things that Isaac Cruz is still doing that he needs to correct, because when he comes up to the top of that division, guess what? It's a little different. You can't, swing. You can't open your eyes or you're going to throw that punch. You can't announce that. You can't telegraph it.
He's already been there, Jay.
He's lunging. Yeah, and what happened? He lost.
Yeah, but he went 12 rounds with the best. He went 12 rounds with the best, okay? And I'm tired of people negating that fact about Tank, because there's no question mark right now. Tank is the best at 135.
You gotta admit, just surviving Tank is an accomplishment, right? I mean,
thank you.
I think so, because so many people have gone down. Like, one of the best, Santa Cruz, went down. But the idea is that still he's got to improve, because he's going to see the top tier of that division, and those guys are sharp. Haney and Cambosos and Ryan Garcia, all those guys, they are tough.
And he's going to have to see him quick, because that kind of style does not last long in the sport of boxing.
There's a lot of wear and tear there as well. That's another thing.
Both of that.
That's another thing. And that's key. That's a short lifespan there.
For sure.
But okay, you got to answer that.
Go ahead.
How are you saying that's your short lifespan when he hasn't even tasted anything from these guys? Hell,
but
Tank,
he will.
It's
inevitable that he's going to get rough.
He fought the best 135 pounder and came out of there.
To be fair, okay, I'm seeing another Providnikov. That's what I'm getting out of Isaac Cruz. Okay, Providnikov.
I didn't see a war here. I didn't see a huge war against Tank.
Well, no, because he was able to get him out of there. But I think the fight with Tank was a war. I mean, there was a lot of back and forth. He was getting hit with heavy shots. He was landing heavy shots, too. Don't get me wrong. I had that fight a lot closer than most. But to eat those kind of shots on a day-in, day-out basis, I think it shortened Bradley's career just off that one fight with Providnikov. And, of course, Providnikov was in there every time like that. He would be in there against boxers too. I mean, not just guys that are coming forward to just knock your head off. So,
and where's Ruslan now? I think he's fought once in the last 3 or 4 years.
No, he's retired. He's fully retired. And
I agree with that. But the one thing that I want to point out is, like, just let me find one example here. Okay, so Isaac Cruz, when he's throwing that big overhand right, you see his eyes come up, his eyes blow up, his cheeks swell, pulls back. And you know what the speedsters are going to do is right straight forward. Bam, bam, bam. Before he gets that shot off. He's going to get shut down. He's got to correct some of those things. He's got to start, shooting a little different, a little more accuracy there.
I agree. There's a lot of hooks. Not a lot of straight punches going on. And yeah, he's going to get countered a lot. He leaves himself wide open. And a lot of those hooks aren't even tight hooks. They're pretty wide. And
he closed the distance, Lucas.
But I'm saying
that's what made the difference in that fight. That's what made the difference in that fight with Gamboa. He closed the distance very well.
Okay, so it sounds like it makes a difference to some of us, and it's not making a difference. Sakura, I do want to see if it's going to make a difference for you. Does him beating Gamboa like this do anything? Because I'm actually on the fence myself. I'm saying no, not really. It's not that big of a measuring stick that says I'm getting a Tank rematch, but at the same time, it at least says, boom, I need a big fight after this. I just beat Gamboa, and I beat him decisively. But it's going to get me a decent fight.
Yeah, it's not impressive to me. I mean, we all knew the outcome of this fight before we even watched it. And on top of that, we had to know that with every lightweight that Gamboa fights, it's more and more diminished if you beat him. The only thing...
You knew that this was going to happen, though, before? You thought it was going to end up that quickly, too? Not just knock him out, but knock him out that quickly. Again, when he just has recently fought some other top elite guys.
I didn't know it was going to be that early, but I knew the end result was going to be that. Gamboa, although he was avoided for so many years, and I'm so happy he's getting these paydays late in his career, at what point do we say this is no longer a litmus test? Like this, I mean, they keep recycling him with every lightweight, you know, and it's like every time somebody wins, he's less and less of a competitive fighter. To me, that's what I see. As far as Isak is concerned, I do see some of the concerns that James has brought up, and just standing there, like just being right there to be hit is a bad defense. The only thing I like about his defense is that he does cover up pretty well. I mean, he has long arms for his size, so he's able to cover up his, you know, his sides as well as his, you know, his face to some degree. But just standing there in the pocket is not going to work with these top tier guys. We all know that. As far as Tank is concerned, you know, we have to remember that, you know, at some point in that fight, I forget which round it was, he did have that injury. So we really don't know how the end result of that fight would have been. But it is acknowledgeable, as Rob said, that he did make it through the entire fight, being that nobody else really has leading up to that. So, I mean, I do give him credit for that, no doubt. But he wants a bigger fight than Gamboa. I mean, it's like really like you're going to be stationary. It's going to be the same. You're not going to make a big jump, right, is what I'm saying. Like, because if he goes higher than a Gamboa, then, you know, you gotta meet a Fortuna or a Linares. You know, Linares just took a loss. Not Fondor, I'm sorry. I just said his name.
Fortuna,
thank you. He just took a loss. So it's still a situation where if he's not fighting the top names, then he's fighting losing guys, right? So, you know, Jojo Diaz has been brought up for the Ryan Garcia fight, but he could also take a Cruz fight if he wants to. Those two styles, to me, make a more exciting fight than
that would be interesting.
Ryan Garcia, yeah.
I think that's doable.
Yeah, I think that's a great fight instead of Ryan, you know, fighting Jojo Diaz right now. You know, but there again, you're talking about people in different lanes on different sides of the street, different cartels, however you like to describe it. So it's harder to be made. I really think that the jury's still out as to how much more improvement Cruz can make, as Lucas was saying also. Like how much farther is someone of Isak Cruz's skill level, how much farther improvement will he be able to make?
We gotta watch it with them cartels now that we talk about. It's some real cartels.
There's an essence of truth there now.
True. Some of our fans are chiming in on just exactly what you're talking about, Shakura, and that's what can be next for Isak Pitbull Cruz. So CJ Hooker says Pitbull Cruz and Ryan Garcia ! Let's get it done. Oscar is offering him $1 million to fight Garcia. Cruz should get at least, at the most, 5. Now, I agree with you. That is a matchup that is being called out on air, live, with Ryan Garcia, and I think that's a great matchup, but I don't think Cruz is worth no $5 million in that fight, personally. But I would love to see it. And then Ralphie Gonzalez says, actually, Richard Comey and Ricky Burns would be a perfect and fun fight against Cruz at the moment. So he's even throwing, you know, a couple of guys in there that were big in the division before with Richard Comey and Ricky Burns. And then CJ Hooker also commented earlier when we were talking about the fight against Tank, where he said they said Cruz had an Achilles injury against Tank. Well, I didn't hear that come to light, but if that's the case, then that's even proving my point further about this kid. But guys, I think all of those matchups are formidable. I just think that what we all can agree on is that we really need to see more Pitbull Cruz, and we need to see him sooner rather than later in getting these bigger fights. Is that right?
I mean,
he's going to get those fights.
Yeah. And for Cruz, he don't need titles, man. He really doesn't. He can keep doing what he's doing because he's fun to watch. He is an excellent undercard. I mean, that sounds horrible to say, but to be fair, that's coming a lot from me because I don't really believe a lot of people are pay-per-view. But that man is very entertaining, and I will pay to watch Isaac Cruz. He's one of few. It's an exciting style. It's an Arturo Gatti type, have at you type guy. And all of those guys, they don't need titles, but you can sell fights. You can sell fights. You don't need titles. You sell it on your own style alone.
Yeah. Well, what I will say about Isaac Cruz before we move on is that he had an opponent that was pretty spent. Yuriorkis Gamboa is 40 years old. He's been down a few times. Let's see what Isaac Cruz gets next. And hopefully he does well. Hopefully he cleans up some of those things. Yeah. Hopefully he's a little bit sharper.
I have another prediction, and I believe that now that Cruz is beating Gamboa, and Gamboa looks so spent, as you said, could Cruz end up being the next guy that ends up fighting all of these guys? Everybody's calling him out for a fight with a worthy name, so I'm feeling like they just exchanged, a Gamboa for a Cruz now, because everybody's calling like, oh, I want Cruz. Ryan Garcia, is saying he can fight him. And everybody's calling for him to fight all the different lightweights. He's already fought Tank. They want a rematch with Tank even. So it seems like to me he's going to be the next litmus test for every lightweight that's in the top 5.
I'd like to take this one on if I may, Lucas.
Oh,
And just what my boy Kareem, we love you. Thank you for joining in. But and what he just said, I told y'all Cruz is the real deal. No, he ain't no damn litmus test for none of these guys. And I'll tell you what, if you want to put him in there as a litmus test, look out. You're going to get upset.
Well, that's what they're doing. I'm not saying yes or no, that is what he is. I'm saying that's what these top tier, top 5 lightweights are doing. Until
he beats Ryan Garcia. Yeah, I said it. Until he beats Ryan Garcia. None of them will want to fight him no more. Then he'll go from what you're saying, Shakura, to the boogeyman. Why? Because this kid knows what he's good at, knows what he's best at in the ring, and he brings it every time. And what people are disregarding on him is that heart and that chin. Like Lucas said, he don't care about the defense. James, he don't care about the flaws. He's gonna go in there to knock you out.
Right.
But if he's not careful, knock out everybody. That's the problem.
Okay, I'll just call it like it is. These 135 pounders that we got in the division right now are soft. They're soft.
Who do you think he's gonna knock out? Really? I mean, he didn't knock out Tank. You said he's the best of the division. Ryan Garcia, how is he gonna reach and have enough energy to knock out a Ryan Garcia?
Soft.
Ryan Garcia is hardcore.
To me is too soft.
Look,
Ryan Garcia is hardcore.
Okay.
I do not think Isaac Cruz is getting the fights that you guys think he's going to get. I don't think he's going to get them. I'm not. And here's why. It's not that he's, I don't think he's this destroyer yet. I don't think he's even earned that. But to see how he handled Tank, right? Even if they think they can beat him and they're confident they can beat him, it's still going to be hell to do it, because if he can take Tank shots and not go nowhere, I don't know if this dude can even be knocked out. So you're in there for 12 hard rounds. Do you really want that?
In terms of Ryan Garcia? No.
I'll just avoid that one.
It sounds like he's the next Sean Porter at lightweight, right?
I mean,
no, you keep throwing him out there. That's what I'm saying. No.
Like, I can't, I don't want to be like totally, overwhelmed and trying to push this man off me for 12 rounds. And Sean Porter doesn't go anywhere. So now it's like, is that Esau? I hope it's not in the future, because Sean Porter was on the losing side of a lot of great fights. So, I mean, I don't want to say Cruz can't win some of these fights. He definitely can. I'm just saying that he's very vulnerable. And it's really simple for a top-tier guy to have a great strategy to beat him because he's so one-dimensional at times. And that's just real. I'm just keeping it real with you. He right there to be hit, guys. He might have a hell of a chin, but at some point, that is not going to work for you.
Yeah, no, I feel you there.
I'm thinking if he was to fight Devin Haney tomorrow, he'd be in deep. I'll tell you why, because Devin Haney is a really, really good boxer. And there's another thing that I'm thinking. Isaac Cruz is not going to change very much. He's pretty much set in his ways, and that's the way he's going to go about his business. Good luck to you, little brother.
I don't think he's going to change at all, James. But look at Ryan Garcia's last fight.
I want to see him win some fights.
Yeah.
I want to see Isaac Cruz win some fights.
Let's go to some more comments here. Christopher Young says Gamboa is just a name on a resume. If Gamboa is in his prime, I believe he would have beaten Cruz. I don't think that fight did anything for him except in making him look good against an older fighter. Kareem says, I told y'all Cruz is the real deal. Cruz versus Gervonta rematch is what I want to see first. I agree, Kareem, but me and you apparently are the select few. Not a lot of people are clamoring for that. I actually had it very close. Let's see. He continued, he will destroy Ryan Garcia, bottom line. Yes, I said that. Line him up. CJ replied, Kareem, he should have got a shot at the winner of Kambosos versus Haney if he can't get Garcia or rematch with Tank. I mean, you could throw him anywhere in there for me. I'm good no matter what. I like me some Isaac Cruz. Ralphie?
And that's what I was saying and pointing out is before the go-to opponent was Gamboa. I think Cruz just finished that, that name out. So now they're going to be hitting up Cruz to be that next opponent for all of them.
Which I understand what you're saying. Be wary of what you wish for, because he's not Gamboa. That's all I'm saying.
Ralphie says
he's got a lot. He's got better skills and a lot more resiliency than Gamboa.
Yeah. Ralphie says Pitbull remind me of Jose Luis Lopez, the first guy who dropped Cordy and broke Yuri Boy Campos' nose. Stop him and beat him super bad. Davis' only problem, no one would fight him like Tito and Oscar or Fernando. I hope it does not happen to Pitbull Cruz. I don't know. All right. Let's move on. Let's talk Conor Benn and Chris Van Heerden. Kind of another one you could predict. You know, you kind of said it with the Isaac Cruz fight. I kind of see him beating him. Maybe not that quick, maybe not that furiously. Was I impressed? No, not all the way, but it was fun to watch for however little it lasted. Guys, Ben's the real deal, or is this just almost a step down in competition?
Oh, from his last fight?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely it was a lesser opponent, but that guy had a solid record, and it showed him against a southpaw. So Ben just looked ferocious. Like, he has that killer instinct that I like, just like Isaac Cruz. I mean, this is what the fans want to see. I was watching the telecast after he fought, and the commentators, they were going back and forth as to who to fight next and if he's really ready for the U.S., welterweights and this and that. And I do think he's like a step beneath just, transitioning over to one of our top welterweights right now. And he needs a fight that is going to teach him those valuable skills and different lessons that you can only get from, rising to the occasion. A lot of people would like to see him against some of the welterweights here after that performance, because he did just really look great against this guy. But the problem is that his opponent was a little bit older and had been out of the ring for quite some time. So it's only so much, competition that this guy was going to offer. I felt like it was more of a stay busy fight, to be honest with you. But I do want to see him step a little bit more up to the next prize fighting level before going in on that top 5 and picking out a fighter. because it's really questionable as to whether he would be able to maintain with those guys. That's a different level. The only other thing that I would say is that he is very blessed to have all the skills of his father, including a great, including power. We saw him use that power. That his opponent was way bigger than him, and and he still laid him out pretty easy. But I'm saying, I just like that killer instinct. Once you get somebody hurt, you got to know how to finish them. And some boxers, they just don't have that. So to me, he's a leg up when it comes to fighting U.S. welterweights down the line. I think he's going to offer us some competitive fights.
For sure. CJ Hooker says they are trying to push Ben versus Amir Khan or Adrian Bronner next. I mean, those fights right there, I would probably pick Ben in either one. So both safe.
They're not going to offer him
somewhat decent money fights.
So is what I'm saying. That fits into what I was saying, where they're not offering him the type of fight he needs in order to grow and be ready for top U.S. welterweights. Come on.
I mean, it's still a step in the right direction. It's a baby step, but it's still a step up. I mean, Amir Khan, maybe not. I think Adrian Bronner is a little bit of a challenge for him, and a little bit more of a threat. He would have to have a little bit more discipline. He couldn't come in as reckless and as reckless abandon like he did against Van Heerden, but. That's what I want to see. I want to see him against different styles, not somebody he can just, train roll over like he did against Van Heerden, and similar to what he did against Algeria as well.
Guys, yes. Though, before this weekend, I would have definitely said, bring on the Josito Lopez, but it wasn't a great fight for him against Crawley. Either Crawley is that good, or Josito was out too long, but he definitely didn't look like the same type of fighter. He was having a lot of stanky leg moments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but he did okay in the first few rounds when it was, a close fight, when they were fighting on the inside. Mm-hmm. When that opened up, it
he started out boxing.
You really see this. You really see his predicament there. Not very good.
But before this weekend, I would have said he would have been a great opponent for Ben.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. No offense to Josito Lopez. I like Josito Lopez. I would consider myself a fan. I like to watch him. And he does make for good TV, but no, guys. I mean, look, he's still riding off the Victor Ortiz, that he dislocated his jaw.
No, he's not. He's riding off the Keith Thurman body punch.
I mean, you still lost that fight. You know what I mean? You can't ride off something when you lost. His last...
Well, he lost the Canelo fight, too.
He shouldn't even have got that fight. But he got that because of the Victor Ortiz situation.
I felt that he was like a great gatekeeper, and he'll show you exactly where the hell you are with the welterweights when you go up against him. But after this weekend, the way his legs were not there, I'm like, I got to think about this some more now.
But you would put them above what CJ Hooker said? Amir Khan or Adrian Bronner?
Oh, Amir Khan and Bronner. Let's face it, Bronner. He doesn't throw any punches anymore.
Well, right, but they're both gonna school Lopez.
Right, which gotta bring you back on topic. Gotta bring you both back on topic.
I really don't think so. I think since Josito got with the Garcia camp, he was a much improved boxer than what he was prior to that. So I don't know. I don't think Adrian Bronner.
I don't see what you see.
Nobody right now. No, I don't.
I don't see what you see. I see the same old Lopez. I didn't see any changes.
But AB is not gonna offer no type of. He just gonna go in his shell. He's not gonna, show him no different moves or what not to do. And then who was the other one? Amir Khan. Well, we saw what he would if he could have. He would have shown us in the Brook fight what he could do. He wasn't able to do that in that fight, so I damn sure know he ain't gonna wake up early in the morning to try to show a Conor Benn something. That's just another check. So no, he needs a tier up from there.
The problem with Conor Benn, which is the topic, is exactly what Kareem is asking and what other people have been asking about Conor Benn. Who is he? Who is he? I need to be educated on the young kid because aside from showing us he can box and having that name, what else has he shown us? The competition is not yet there. The real question is, yeah, he walked through an opponent he should have. Yet again, I believe he's shown us a glimpse of what he could be against Chris Algieri. The problem is Chris Algieri hadn't fought before then for a very long time. So we are now trying to throw more names at him that's really not going to prove worth a damn.
Well, maybe it'll act towards what he was saying, and that's that those names will at least get him the attention for more people to know who he is. If that's
so this,
if it's more like a marketing tool, but I don't see. It's like Gamboa when they're using Gamboa's name. That's the same effect. You know, it's getting eyeballs watching these boxers. But I just don't agree. I don't agree with an AB. I don't agree with a Amir Khan either. I'm just saying, like, I don't know who it could be, but it needs to be a step up from there.
Yeah, no, but he's definitely on that route because before Algieri, it was Adrian Granados, pretty decent welterweight there. Okay, then you got I think Van Heerden. You know, he fought Algieri, and then Van Heerden's actually a pretty decent fighter. I think he's got like 3 losses on his record now. He's got a few knockouts that he's won by, so pretty decent competition is what I'm saying. What's next for him? There's a lot of good welterweights out there that really fit that. I don't think Josecito or Adrian Broner are the foil for his next fight.
Yeah.
Something a little bit better, and there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of, and it all depends on, you know, this whole cartel thing we talk about. You know, who's gonna? This is TAZN, so it's not where all the welterweights are.
Agreed, but here's the story, is what I'm getting at, and this was published by ESPN, the Bible to me, so you know it's true. The story has it is that coming into this fight, Ugas, who actually is kind of a friend of young Conor Benn, reached out to him to have they wanted to have like a little sparring session. Okay, for their 2 fights coming up. And Ugas didn't want to spar with him. He declined, and they actually gave him Gamboa. Word from Conor Benn is Gamboa had to exit said session because he couldn't hack it. He got beat up in there, okay? And then, to add to the story, Ugas, which again, a friend of Conor Benn, reached out to him and said, hey, come out to eat with me and my fiance. Conor said no. You know why? Because he wants to line up that fight next. I think that's, if he really wants to prove what he's worth, and now there's a backstory to it, that's the level of competition he needs to go up to. Let's stop throwing these ABs and Amir Khans, these yesterday names at these kids, and let's start lining them up with the true level of competition they deserve. Because if Gamboa can't face him and do anything with him in sparring, these guys aren't going to be able to do nothing with him out there in the ring.
Right, but I mean, I'm just saying, Ugas, really? I mean, that's a real big jump up.
No, it's not. What is the kid's record? The kid has a great record right now, great resume, undefeated. It's time to put a step up there.
Not that much of a step up when you're saying the names he's fought isn't quite.
Where you throw Ugas out in that list? Ugas ain't nothing. No, I know we're going to get to that, Lucas. I know we're going to get to that.
Shut your mouth up. Shut up.
Ugas ain't nothing.
You saying that, but I bet your ass wouldn't get in the ring with him.
Conor Benn right his weight.
With that broken orbital bone, yes, let's fight.
Right, and that's another thing. It's gonna take too long for his orbital bone surgeries and healing process. Conor Benn needs to fight like in another 6 weeks. He ready. He needs to stay busy. Like that is too long of a lay off for him. He's gonna have to fight somebody else, even if he was targeting Ugas.
There is a lot of welterweights there out there for him. I mean, I'm just looking at this list of welterweights, and there's a lot of feet in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
And so there's a lot of good possibilities there. He's not at the top. We all know that. He's working his way up like boxing works. Boxing just works. Boxing just works that way.
Yeah.
You just work your way up that ladder, and he's on his way up. So there's no reason for him to jump up to the top.
I'm saying, James. I'm saying name some of them welterweights you're seeing that you think are great possibilities.
I'm thinking minus the polemics of, the different organizations or promoters. Abel Ramos, I'm thinking might work. Jamel James could be pretty serious competition there. Maybe Alexis Rocha, but I think he's fighting at 54 now. Ray Robinson, Thomas Delorme. There's a few there. List goes on and on.
Delorme sticks out, and James sticks out. Those are two good possibilities.
Staniosis.
I think Staniosis is quite a step.
Yeah.
I would wait on that one.
Now that's my problem with y'all.
Yeah,
Staniosis is a world champion.
They keep talking about this kid, bringing him up with all these victories, and he ain't fought shit.
He just fought Radzab Butev and beat him in a split decision.
Not Staniosis. Conor Benn.
No.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Stanionis. Sorry. No,
that's the way you're supposed to. You're supposed to move a boxer in a certain way so that they learn on their path and gain knowledge to improve their game before they are ready to meet up with a real prize fighter that has experience and already been there a few times at the championship level. I think that's what they're doing with Conor Benn. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
I'm just saying that the list of names that he just mentioned, I saw two that I feel personally would make great matchups with him because he would actually learn something and improve his game from them fights. Not to put in there with somebody who's gonna just, demolish him right away because he don't have that skill yet, that skill set complete yet. That's what.
And maybe you just saw Cody Crawley fight. Okay, it sounds like you did. That might work pretty well for him.
See him
for Conor Benn.
A lot of welterweights now.
Okay. Now, if I throw in Jaron Ennis, that might be a big step. That might be something you want to wait on.
See, y'all
exactly.
keep talking about those big steps, man. I don't agree with that, man.
Well, I'm saying we're not going to take that big step. As a manager, I would hold back a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Right.
Until he does improve himself, he ain't no more than a Corey Spinks to me. You got a name up there, but you ain't beat nobody.
You know what? I'm about to interview Corey Spinks, and what you're not gonna do is sit up here and talk about Corey Spinks. And he about to be inducted in the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame. So what are you saying about his skill level again?
Couldn't hack it. That's what I'm saying. Couldn't hack
it. He's getting inducted. You're not. You can't knock boxers who have gotten that ring in that way and perform and put that on the line.
That's what we do.
No, you
what our job is.
This man has finished his career, and you up there bringing him up as an example of like a negative example.
Shakur is trying to take the high road right now because she got the upcoming interview. I understand.
That's what we do.
I do, boo boo. I understand.
Rob,
that's what we do.
I like him.
Oh man. Rob, I mean, I do gotta disagree with what you're saying with the jumps up. You jump up too much too soon, it definitely affects a fighter, right? Canelo's where he's at now because he's able to slowly learn and slowly build his craft. If you just throw him in some deep waters and say sink or swim, motherfucker, it ain't gonna be too good of a fighter. You got management there for a reason, and matchmakers there. But unfortunately, for some people, it don't always work that way.
you can kind of argue that Canelo did get fed to the sharks early with the Mayweather fight. I mean, nobody else was going to get that fight at hit that stage in their career.
No, but I think they knew, Mayweather's kind of on his way out, so they wanted to get it while they could. And, they you got to take it. It's the lottery. Everybody wanted that fight. Everybody still wants that fight.
He was wrong for taking it, but, I mean, I'm just saying you can't argue that he was kind of fed to the wolves by getting into that type of a fight with a prize fighter of that level. Like, he was number one at that time.
That's not thrown to the wolves, though, because that's what everybody wants. You're building to get to Mayweather, right? So, in actuality, he just got what he wanted.
But
there's
Rob's
something
point is that Conor Benn should already be fighting some major names now that he's done enough now to where it's time for him to step the hell up. So I'm saying that's what Canelo ended up doing. He stepped the hell up.
Look,
so you're missing the argument.
Rob, does he have a belt?
You're missing the argument.
Does he have a belt? Go check out Canelo's early title defenses and tell me what you think, because he's already beaten names that are just as big as what he's defending a title at, son.
Right.
That's all I got.
And that's the point. That's the point you're missing with Canelo. Canelo fought Mayweather, you could say, arguably earlier. Has he lost since? No. That made him a better fighter. That's what's missing from these young cats these days.
My God!
It takes a lot of time.
That's what we were just saying about Conor Benn and the steps. And you said no.
No.
Yes.
What's missing from these young guys
is the fact. That's what you just did.
No.
I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out.
Call me out.
There is a progression. There is a progression. There is a progression. There's a progression. Every fighter goes through that. Canelo did that. Conor Benn's doing it. Isaac Cruz is doing it. Everybody that we mentioned goes through it. Why? Because it's boxing. It's just the way it works. Pick and choose your way up. It's just the way it works.
What's missing from these younger fighters is the confidence and the level to grow from these losses. Canelo took on Mayweather early. Obviously, he learned from it. He hasn't lost since. Conor Benn.
You think he would have took that fight if it wasn't Mayweather?
I'll let you speak.
Rob, maybe.
I'll let you speak.
He took it young.
I'll let you speak,
but not early. How many fights did Canelo have?
20-something, maybe even 30-something. It was probably maybe 35 when he fought. I'm not sure. Most of those were in Mexico. Early on in his career, Canelo was fighting out of Mexico.
That don't matter.
Conor Benn is now 21-0 with 14 KO. It's time for him to step up his level of competition.
Yeah, in some esoteric fashion, maybe.
All right. Let's move on. We beat Conor Benn enough.
Matt.
We beat Conor Benn enough. This show can only be so long.
Well, did we get any comments about this particular?
Not really. We got some interested. No. I was talking about the specific thing that we were just talking about. But as far as who they would like to see Ben fight next, we do have some ideas there.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Kareem says Conor versus Enos and Fandora. They just trying to get Conor Benn killed right away before he can learn more. CJ says Virgil Ortiz number 4, Boots Enos is number 5, Thurman's number 6, and Conor Benn is number 7. So, that maybe what Rob's saying is a little bit true as far if you're following the ranking basis. I mean, he needs to be fighting one of those names. Those big names. Kareem says Ben versus Pacquiao. Pacquiao's coming back in August. Is that true? I don't think that's true.
I did hear something about he was toying with coming back.
And if he comes back, I'm going to assume he's fighting a different Conor. We're going to be talking about Conor McGregor, cashing out and getting out of here.
That's a 4-1.
Yeah. You heard it here first. That's a guess. But CJ says, I told you all opponent is Keith Thurman for Conor Benn. I mean, I like the fight. I hope it gets made. But again, I think he does need a little step in the right direction before a Thurman. Maybe 2 fights away. And then Ralphie says Ben versus Tim Tszyu. Yep. I've heard that one too. I mean, why not? It's good.
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing that Ben versus Zoo. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Zoo
I
is
got no complaints
154.
about that.
Zoo
Oh,
is
that's right. He's
154.
not the right weight class. That's true.
That don't matter.
No, you're talking about Conor Benn moving up because when you said
Yeah,
Pandora,
catch
that's
weight.
154 as well.
Yeah, it could be a catch weight. You're right, Lucas. That's for sure.
That's what I'm saying. You're already talking about the kid moving up, and he ain't even fought the best in the division.
Let's
Boy, boxing fans are fickle.
You want him to fight the best in the division? You would throw in his boots at this man tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Not a good move.
Right.
Yeah, I'm saying he would.
Hey, get out of the sport.
That wouldn't look very good in court.
What's next on the agenda, Lucas?
Murder, right?
Let's talk Francisco Vargas versus Jose Valenzuela. I was not expecting that. Okay. And even from the guy's body style, you don't get this guy's going to be one of those hard hitters like that. He made a big splash.
That was a nice one too, boy.
Yeah.
He made homeboy out right away. Although I don't think that Francisco, to really be in the game anymore. He's starting to get knocked out frequently now. He's not looking good, and so it's like I said, it's like the Gamboa effect. Like you're more of with every fight, you're looking more and more diminished, and it's like enough is enough. However, .com, I just want to know, could Venezuela do the same type of thing to a higher or more noteworthy boxer who might have a better chin at least, or offer some different look than what Francisco was able to do? I mean, that jury is still out for me because it was just so quick and it was like, whoa, what just happened?
Well, he's got 12 wins, 8 KOs, so he's well on his way. And he's had some pretty decent competition in the last couple of years. He's working his way through, and he's working with the Benavides brothers. He's up in Seattle, but I guess he trains with them in Las Vegas or something, or wherever they train, maybe in Phoenix. And so he's really dedicated. He's got a unique style, and he brings it. But I just felt that this card was kind of like young guy versus kind of on your way out guy. So you got Gamboa and Vargas add up their age. It's 80 something years old. And that was kind of the theme here. And so, but Valenzuela is a really, really good fighter. Shoots really, really hard, kind of like the very young Bandito Vargas. So that'll give you an idea of what he does. He's a good fighter, but there was no reason to have a guy with Vargas level against such a young, powerful fighter. That was dangerous. And so when I was a little surprised they stopped it as fast as they did. I mean, the referee counted to 1, maybe 2, and called it. Totally surprised about that.
He saw his eyes, man. His eyes wasn't there, It wasn't no need to continue. It really
didn't give Bandito a chance to get cut, and make it a Bandito fight. Nothing like that. It just ended like 30 seconds into this bout. Not a good look, and I think that it's time for Bandito to wrap it up.
I think a lot of people would agree. I think it's time for Bandito to hang it up. Ralphie says Jose Valenzuela is versus Pitbull in future. Bet on that. The guy who dropped Teofimo Lopez and hurt him in sparring. Lots of talk on that. Ooh. Regardless, I think he made a big enough splash that he's going to get more step-up fights in the future and definitely get bigger names there.
Very good, very good. I mean, he made me very interested in him. I tell you that. He put his name on my radar. And that's all you can do with an opponent like the one he had. It's like, let me just look impressive and get this guy out of here as soon as possible. And that's what he did.
Yeah, I mean, they did exactly what his management team would have wanted, a big knockout on a big pay-per-view. So he was able to pull that off, and it's going to reap benefits for him for sure.
Okay, Rob, how does Isaac Cruz versus Jose Valenzuela sound? Is that something that's interesting?
You're looking at a kid. You're looking at a kid who's 12-0. He's unproven. I don't care what you say. Francisco
Vargas. It's time for him to step up and fight the champions.
Francisco Vargas right now
you just
is
switch
nothing.
gears, man.
Francisco Vargas right now is nothing.
He got 8 knockouts. You don't think that's not good enough for you?
He's got to fight the top
right.
of the creme de la creme here.
I wouldn't mind seeing it happen. I wouldn't. Right. But when he gets wiped the floor off with him, then it does nobody no good. Because they say Pitbull did exactly what he should with this kid, and they're gonna say this kid went up too soon.
So
there's a huge difference in being 12-0, not going a full 12-round fight in your career hardly ever with stiff competition versus someone who's 21-0 with 14 knockouts, facing supposedly stiffer competition on a bigger stage over at DAZN.
So it's time for him to take another step and another step.
Especially considering Conor Benn has been on DAZN, 4 times now? Featured on DAZN, 4 times now?
You're trying to make Rob really say exactly what you
No, what I'm trying to say is that this comparison stinks.
No, James wants you to say that he needs to do a step-up fight.
The comparison stinks. It stinks. They don't even compare.
All right. CJ Hooker says, let's get to the meat and potatoes. Spence and Crawford should be set now. And I'm adding to the gravy, which was the altercation between David Benavidez and Jermell Charlo.
That's a separate topic, though.
Yeah.
That's got to be a separate topic.
Let's lead in and just go to Sakura's tweet of the week.
All right. Let me get myself together because, I just was floored by Rob not wanting to admit that what we were saying was so right.
Different comparisons. Not right.
Not admit he's wrong.
All right. So we got Ray Jackson from Twitter. He says, Spence wants all the smoke. #boxing, #Spence Crawford. And I don't know who hasn't seen it, but you got Spence earlier today. Today he was tweeting about his grocery list with a cart and all his belts in it. And his grocery list had a bunch of check marks for Kell Brook, Sean Porter, Ugas, and the only box left open, of course, is Terrence Bud Crawford. Could he not make it more clear that the only thing that he's interested in is a Bud Crawford 4-belt unification title shot? Guys, is this the next fight for Spence? Is this the only fight he's interested in? Or is this just another, another one of these Twitter moments that doesn't have any backbone behind it?
You said that was his grocery list?
Yeah, that's what he got. It's like he's in the grocery store.
Yeah, Spence's grocery list. I hope his shopping cart doesn't go flipping forward. Because we're not going to get those fights. No, here's the thing. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm thinking about Stanionis because he's a WBA welterweight champion. He's a world champion. It's a WA belt. And we talked about this last week. You got the super WBA in Errol Spence. They should have that fight technically. So I think that Stanionis just demands that fight, takes step aside money, gets a nice rest, and goes after the undisputed. It falls in his hands. Would he give Terrence Crawford a good fight? Yes. Would he give Errol Spence a good fight? Yes. If he plays it well, he'll get that. I don't know that the boxing gods are going to line up for us and give us this fight between Spence and Crawford, because fucking boxing never does that shit for us.
No, not
something
until
happens.
Way down the road, and we don't care about it anymore.
And if they're going to put this in the popcorn machine and let it marinate, then we just got to wait. I hope we get this. I hope we get this year.
Let's see. Before we go into it fully, just a quick step back. Valenzuela could beat Cruz. Cruz could easily be beaten by a fast, hard puncher. It's easy to time. Oh, okay. That was from David Contreras. And then CJ Hooker said, absolutely, it's got to happen, Sakura. And Stanionis only has 14 wins with 9 KOs. That subject keeps coming back up.
I mean, yeah. So my thing is, listen, guys, we gotta delve into this situation. Okay, if I got 3 belts and I only need 1 more, and it's also the lead into a mega fight that's always been hyped and let go and marinated. Hyped, let go and marinated. Now we're on the 3rd marination over period. It's Bud versus Spence. Bud is no longer on the other side of the road, so they say. Apparently, PBC has offered him a 2-fight deal. One of them, which would be an Errol Spence fight. Guys, do you want to see this fight next for Bud and Spence? Or do you think we need another marination point? I don't think so.
Please, no.
Bring it.
No more.
Bring
no more
it. Bring it.
It needs to happen now, or I'm just...
Ain't nobody listening to shit they gotta say unless it's Spence versus Crawford. Period. And I'll say that by saying this. Any other fight for Crawford that's not Spence and vice versa, I'll see the ESPN ticker tape and see what happens. Because I already know. I don't want to see it live. I don't want to see it on TV. I don't care about it. The only fight they better make happen next better be gosh damn Errol Spence versus damn Terrence Crawford. Period.
I mean...
Well said.
I just was astonished at how the whole punch happened with the mouthpiece that flew out, and how hyper focused he was on just getting that mouthpiece back. That seemed to be a turning fight, a turnaround point in the fight for me. It was almost, he was winning still, don't get me wrong, but Ugas was still in there. He was still hanging in there. And after he rocked his shit, when he went to go get his mouthpiece, it's like Spence went into kill mode. And after that, it was, you couldn't even touch me. I mean, he got Ugas out of there pretty violently.
Yeah.
After the 7th round, though.
He didn't stop for the mouthpiece. Spence said he thought he heard, the ref say stop. But he didn't. We all know that. But, I mean, yeah, he was hyper-focused on getting this mouthpiece when he knows the ref usually is the one that picks up the mouthpiece and lets them wash off the mouthpiece before putting it back in their mouth. So he was that distracted. Mm-hmm. That's something that can't happen in a fight against a Bud Crawford. It just cannot happen.
No, but
he did go into kill mode for sure. That
kill mode, though, I was like, I don't know. I mean, if he can stay in that kind of mode versus Bud Crawford, I don't know. CJ Hooker says, who is the A-side between Spence and Crawford? 3 versus 1. Will they agree to a 50-50 split? I don't think so. I still think Crawford's got to take the least amount. I mean, I think he does.
Yeah, for me, it's about the titles now. See, now he has 3 of the marbles, right? Mm-hmm. Bud only got 1. I mean, if you just simply go by the number of titles, that would make Spence the A-side. I have more titles than you. I have more to lose. So if anything, I want to get paid more. That's how it's going to go. And which is the whole reason they set up this fight. I mean, it was the reason they set up the Pacquiao fight until it switched hands with Ugas. They wanted that 3rd belt so that they could really have leverage over Bud Crawford. And so now that they have that, it's nothing that they want to achieve before this fight, I believe. And for Bud, he's ready just because he's ready to prove that he is the best of this division. And he's tired of this back and forth, going back and forth as far as negotiations off and on, and people saying that he hasn't fought anybody that's in the top, yet. So he has a different motivation than Spence has, I believe. Spence wants that fourth title so that he can ride off into the sunset, right? But but Bud wants it because it's a legacy fight for him, and it's to prove once and for all that he's the better fighter of the division, the best in the division. So that makes it a hellified fight for real. Like, they both gonna want it, but for different reasons.
One of the important things for me to see here is to see Bud Crawford have a really huge win in the welterweight division, because he's fought Kavaliauskas, he fought Benavidez, he fought a couple other guys. I'd really want to see him have that one seminal fight with someone, and really, really put a stamp on his career here, where it's, a top dog in the welterweight division. He did it at 140, no question about it. I want to see him do it here. And he's doing it against a guy who does everything well. Errol Spence boxes on the inside, defensive. He's just a hell of a fighter. And so this is the test at welterweight for Crawford. Comes at a perfect time. They're both peaking. This couldn't be better. If this doesn't, in agreement with what Rob said, if this doesn't get made next, boxing is in trouble.
Yeah.
Good point. So,
go ahead.
So let me go here and set the tone for this fight. Spence has went through the fire twice now. He's went through heavy stuff outside of the ring, heavy layoffs, and he's proven each time to be better and better, more focused, more determined. And like Lucas said, now guess what? I see a killer instinct. To me, that was the biggest difference between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, was that killer instinct. And now we see he has it. This fight has to be made next for those very same reasons. Because now Spence has 3 belts, Crawford has 1, but Crawford was ranked above Spence in the pound for pound rankings this whole time. This fight is a mega fight, period. And both guys, and CJ Hooker, I'm alluding to you because you say you want predictions. It's too early for that, okay? It's too early for that, because both these guys are incredible athletes. They're in shape. They're at the tippity top of their prime in this sport. It doesn't get any bigger than this. This is payback to everybody that wanted to see Pacquiao Mayweather. This is payback for everybody who watched Mayweather McGregor. This is the biggest fight probably at this particular time in the history of this sport.
And it's 50-50.
I would agree with you. I have to agree with Rob on this issue because we haven't had any of the matchup that's really enticed the fans on this level since Mayweather Pacquiao. Like, even close. We're not up there with the Mayweather Pac fight, but this is the first fight that's piqued a lot of fans' interest, even, halfway to what that fight was. So it's a fight that has to happen. I just want to mention that we got to remember that Errol Spence is a throwback fighter, right? He's not for the tune-ups. He likes to come in ready. He spars for real. Look at the people he gets to spar with the Charlo brothers, Lara. It's great competition. It only makes any of them better. But just to know that he's going to want to fight Bud next, because he is not with these shenanigans of fighting this person over here, or oh, look over there, he has a regular WBA belt. No, he is not. He's not going to get distracted by these types of things. He is going to be laser focused on that one belt. You know why we know that? Because he told us so on the tweet. Ain't but one box to check. That box to check is Bud Crawford.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I can't really give a prediction yet. I think right now it would favor Spence. And I'm talking it's still close. As far as 50-50 fight, it's about as close as we've seen it in quite a long time.
Well, I don't want to say it, but I saw a couple of things still. I don't know if it was Spence just not giving a damn about Ugas's power, or if there was some missteps there, but I did see some things that I know somebody like Bud Crawford is going to try to take advantage of. Whether he fights in that same fashion for his fight is questionable, though, because he's so adaptable. That's the thing about both of them that I love. They're both just really adaptable. But right now, I would have to lean towards a Bud Crawford. But, hey, anything goes when you're talking about this level. Could easily go the other way.
You know what's very interesting to me, and just to touch on, because I believe we're touching on the next fight. We haven't even touched on this fight per se, right? What's really interesting to me in this fight is the fact that the way Ugas fought was how Bradley predicted, was how everybody predicted he would fight, and that was his major flaw in not letting his hands go. I think Spence could have really coasted easier in this fight and played it safe and not attack Ugas as much and still won the fight because of Ugas's lack of throwing punches. And to me, that's the big tell with Errol Spence in this fight, is that he didn't do that. He attacked, he pushed, he broke the orbital bone, and then he kept attacking. He didn't take it easy. He didn't take rounds off. He didn't match, so to speak, the energy that Ugas did.
That's because Ugas pissed him the hell off. He hurt him.
Well, still, I'm just saying, Lucas, Ugas, let's face it, Ugas is his own worst enemy in these types of fights because he doesn't let his hands go. And that's what they were saying repeatedly in the corner. When you let your hands go, that's when you do your best work. You can get to him if you just let your hands go. I don't care if you go out on your shield by trying and a guy overpowers you and is too much or better than you. But hell, at least try. Ugas doesn't do that. He plays it too safe in the ring.
That was what I said. What I said last week. I said he does not close, he does not finish, and he doesn't show that he wants to fight more when it comes to judges. That's just like the most simple way to put it. When he started putting up them earmuffs, I was like, oh boy, here we go. He done lost the fight right now. As soon as he started doing that, I was like,
he lost the fight.
Yep.
No, I was expecting a lot more jabs and a lot more hard rights from him, but he seemed reluctant to let those fly. Why? Because Spence is just sharp. Spence is just sharp. You know, he defends himself well and he comes back with a really hard left, and that hard left is what did the damage to Ugas.
Mm-hmm. And then
especially in the seventh round.
Which also led to the whole I can't see, so I'm definitely not gonna let my hands go.
Right.
Yeah. I love the uppercuts. I loved how he snuck those little uppercuts in here and there. I mean, I was just like, damn, how did he make that work? Because this dude is like this, and he still managed to find a way to put that shot up there. I was like, dang, So you got to be careful when you're thinking that you're gonna have an easy road with Spence for sure. Like,
yeah. And then since Lucas wanna give somebody the edge, I will say this, Lucas.
Oh, okay.
When he fights Terrence Crawford, you're not fighting no damn counterpuncher. You're not just fighting no guy who's looking to counter. Terrence is gonna bring it.
And that was an awful strategy any damn way.
Kareem says, I believe that Crawford is going to duck Spence.
Sure.
We don't even have to. Kareem, I love you, brother. We ain't even going to acknowledge that. Both guys want this fight to be made, okay? If it doesn't get made right now, then damn it, I ain't gonna watch another fight this year.
You
That's how bad. That's how bad.
No, you watch another fight, but you'll begrudgingly watch that fight. But you're gonna watch a fight.
I'm kind of fearful that could happen, but it is boxing, so it can happen.
I just don't see the reason to dodge, because
no, it's hot time. This is where the rubber meets the road. They both acknowledge that they want to fight each other. And
not just that, it's like, where's Bud gonna go? Like, who the hell else is he gonna fight? I mean, it's like nothing. He has all the damn belts. What are you wasting time? You're not gonna make the kind of money that you make with Bud. You're not gonna have the chance to gain any titles from anybody else unless you go with a lesser title, like that WBA regular belt that Stanius just won. You're just like, it's nowhere to go.
No, this is it.
That's my next question. Let's say they do fight, right? We get a winner. We get a undisputed welterweight champion. Do you
the 4-belt era, first one.
Do you actually think they're sticking around at welterweight to defend against the upcoming Conor Benns, the upcoming fighters? I doubt it. They're going to probably move up, right? I want to see an undisputed, and then I want to see defenses. I want to, because we all know 147's deep. I mean, I want to see him come up and defend against Boots Enos.
I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that. I think there'll be a trilogy. Honestly, I think there could be. I think there'd be immediate rematch, and that would be the very next fight. That would be the 2-fight deal right there. I think that whoever wins that bout is not going to be able to win it decisively because it's so much of a 50-50 bout. There's going to be excuses. There's going to be this. There's going to be that going on in camp. There's going to be a rematch. I think it warrants it. I think it'll be a hell of a fight.
Honestly,
yeah.
I think it's going to matter those first few rounds because Crawford has to be careful, right? He takes a while to adapt. He loses early rounds. Not only loses early rounds, he gets hurt early. He gets knocked down early. He cannot do that against Spence. Spence hits a lot harder and is going to put on a lot more damage. If he can survive early, that's Crawford's fight. And those early rounds are going to determine where that fight goes. And what style takes over.
At 147, it's a big test, but I think that's kind of the way things play out, is that there could be a rematch in the future, in the distant future, a trilogy. But there is a lot of competition coming up, and you mentioned Boots, and there's Stanionis, and there's a lot of other guys in there. This is Murderer's Row. And this is the we talk about 135 and people talk heavyweights and Canelo weights and Superfly and all. 147 is where it's at
for sure.
Well, they're gonna be a lot of pissed off boxers if they have a trilogy and they got all the belts tied up. Nobody else can be a champion then.
I mean, what? You're talking a trilogy, what's that, maybe, a year and a half? They can do that all a year and a half.
If the belts are all tied up each time, that's less opportunities for other boxers to become champion. They're going to be
there's still all these fucking interim belts and, the regular champion versus super.
Yeah, but...
And the southpaw champion and the right-handed champion and you name it.
I can see a trilogy for sure. I don't know. I hope it happens, and I think it would be a trilogy because I can honestly see Spence catching him early, but I can also see Terrence Crawford outboxing him. So I can lean either way.
I can't see that.
You can't see Spence catching him.
No. Crawford outboxing.
Oh, okay.
Spence, not at all.
No.
Yeah, but Lucas, the thing of it is that, he can try to avoid, Bud can try to avoid that power in the beginning, but Spence looked like to me he had that same power at the end too. He looked like he was still carrying some power in the later rounds as well.
All right, let's put it this way, guys. So we kind of teased predictions, but nobody actually gave predictions. So we're gonna do a small rapid fire one like Rob would do. If you had $1,000, you're forced to pick the winner. Who are you going with?
Wow.
I'm not doing that right now.
No, you have to. You have to.
I'm not doing that.
That's a rapid fire. You got to. $1,000.
I'm not doing that.
Then you lose. Then you lose your money. You lose $1,000 if you don't do it.
All right. Have to pick a winner right now.
You got to
pick a winner.
You got to.
I hate this with everything I love.
Stop stalling.
Spence.
He sides with me, James.
I would say Spence by decision in a fucking barn burner.
All right. Kareem says Spence all day. Sakura, let's in with you.
I'm still with Bud.
Hooker says Spence too. Right now you're alone. I'm actually surprised. I was expecting some more Crawford to come.
And I like it like that. You know I do, because I'm right even when I don't want to be.
Rob, do you have any rapid fire for us?
Douglas, we gotta go to the fight coming up, don't we have a fight
really?
This weekend?
Oh, really?
That's Tyson Fury against Dillian White.
Right, that's the Super Bowl over there in England.
Super Bowl.
Okay, which nobody is talking about, by the way.
Especially Dillian White.
Yeah, you need to please tell me why we jumped off a hot topic like Spence versus Bud and to jump over to a fight that even Twitter said nobody's talking about.
Yeah.
Shit, okay. I thought that y'all covered the sport of boxing. I guess I was wrong, but
well, you can tell me why. Okay, we covering it. Why you think that is? Why do you think people are not interested in this particular fight?
I don't know. Honestly, I mean, I'm more interested.
They are
in
interested.
Tommy Fury.
They're interested over there in England.
So I can see if Tommy Fury able to finally beat Jake Paul, because I knew they were about to fight, right? Somebody needs to shut that kid up. So yeah, I'm gonna look.
I ain't even
gonna
do a rapid fire no more.
Well, the one thing I gotta say, the one thing I gotta say about this card is this: that we just had this wonderful Showtime card. I mean, it was deep, it was lengthy, a lot of great competition, some old versus new, whatever. This particular card on Saturday, it just doesn't offer a lot of undercard. There's some names in there, but it's not of great interest, I should say.
No.
It really didn't pique my interest, and I'm not the biggest heavyweight fan in the world. Figuratively, physically I am, not figuratively. So what I'm going to say is that, if I have time, I'll watch it. Maybe a little bit busy. I'm just not so interested in it.
Rob, me either. Rob, you're the odds guy. What's Vegas saying on this? I think Fury's got to be a well favorite. I'm talking like 7-1, 10-1.
So first of all, let me just say it's a huge fight in England. Okay, they sold out.
Look, what sells tickets doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Wembley Stadium. That's huge when you sell out Wembley Stadium in England.
I'm not questioning the UK fans wanting to see two UK big stars over there fighting. We know that. We're talking about why is there no interest for a well-known American
What American?
I said a well-known. Hold on, you didn't listen to the whole statement. I said a well-known American fighting fighter. So that is Fury. He's known over here. So why is he picking up any crossover over here interest in this fight like we thinking?
Because he's still from the UK, and it's a UK fight. Dillian White, nobody even has heard of.
The audience from boxing fans here. It's a heavyweight fight.
Dillian White, nobody's even heard of over here. I'm getting questions from people like, who is Fury fighting again? Guys, this is a big deal. It's over at Wembley Stadium in front of 90,000 people. Oh, okay. That's one of the issues. The second issue, it's at 2 p.m. our time. Nobody watches a fight at 2 p.m. pay-per-view, let alone. It's not gonna draw huge interest from us American fans.
That pay-per-view situation now, because I have my subscription to the Zone, but you're telling me I gotta have regular DAZN plus then pay the pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's not on DAZN, it's on ESPN Plus.
True.
Oh well, I got ESPN Plus, but you saying I gotta have ESPN Plus and then still
pay-per-view. And it's pay-per-view. That's what they did to
Bud Crawford and Sean Porter, remember?
They're getting you every way they can. I'm canceling them. I'm serious, especially DAZN, $20. Man, I signed up for $9.99. They told me I could stay at that. Now you're just gonna take that back and make me do pay-per-view. What's the point? The only reason they hooked everybody for it was Canelo anyway. Now they turned him into pay-per-view.
Oh my God!
Rob, you were right though. You called that from day one. You said that the pay-per-view was gonna happen before it actually happened. So I will give you props on that. That was some horse shit.
Told y'all. Tyson Fury, you better win this fight. You better knock him out. Because if not, all these people that say they don't care is now going to care.
Look, it's not nothing against Dillian White. I just don't think he's at Fury's level. I agree complete with CJ Hooker. It's a waste of time. Fury wins. I can't wait until the following week. Stevenson versus Valdez, Taylor versus Serrano.
There you go.
So much. This seems like a filler weekend for us, right? This is like, keep the boxing fans, good, and same over here.
I hate y'all. What you're not going to do is disrespect the heavyweight division, okay? It's a big deal over there in the UK.
That's what somebody else would have said. They said, dang, I just realized there ain't no fights this weekend.
Sick of y'all.
Like they didn't even know. Listen,
rapid fire.
Hold on. Dillian White could upset the apple cart and give some type of knockdown. Fury isn't exempt from knockdowns, guys. He's been knocked down in all the 2-3 fights that he had with Wilder. He was knocked down. He's been knocked down by other boxers as well. So could Dillian White do something like that? Yes, he definitely can. He's just known for power. Listen, it seems like it's not a great fight, but then in the end, it is a good fight because you always have that added bonus of seeing if Fury is going to get knocked down in another fight or not. And will he be able to sustain, or knock down Dillian White? I mean, these are heavyweights. That's always the catch with heavyweights. Yeah, go ahead, James.
That's one of the reasons people watch these fights is just to see if Fury is going to get knocked out.
Right. And then the other thing is that you got a situation where, yes, UK fans and everything, but this is a lead-up type of fight because we really want to see what? We really want to see what happens between AJ and Usyk so that we can see how Fury is going to match up with whoever wins that fight. That is the lead-up fight, right? We're all wanting to go to that. So we need to know what happens in this fight. And as Dillian White said, why is Fury having a 12-week camp for just little old me if I ain't no big deal? He wants to know why is he going through all this serious training camp if there's nothing to him and he's no threat. So that's a question I'm asking him now too. I'm like, yeah, that is true. Why is he doing
because
I think any reputable fighter has to put it in.
It's his show. Because it's Fury's show. He basically, there's events going into this fight. It's not just the fight. There's gonna be like a mini concert in out there in the ring with Tyson Fury. He's gonna be singing his songs, all that type of stuff coming into the ring.
12-week train. Nothing you said made me feel like, oh, that means he needs a 12-week training camp.
Because he knows if he doesn't do that, he's going to be severely distracted and not come in focused for this fight. That's why. Because he's at home. It's a home bout for him. We already know his issues in the past. And Tyson he don't want to fight when he don't want to fight. Okay? So he took it seriously for that very reason. Because if he didn't, he'd be distracted by all this crap going outside of the ring and he wouldn't be on point that night. And he wants to make a huge show.
Basically, you're saying that he is thinking about Dillian White could put his mega fight in jeopardy.
Absolutely.
I think if you're being a well-disciplined fighter, I think you believe at all times that it's always up. You know what I mean? That the gig is always up. It's always on the line, so you better come with everything you got, and I think he prepares for the best every time he's out there.
That's one thing, is that there's a lot of anger because I think the purse that Dillian White's getting is really shitty. I mean, I think it's like an 80-20 split.
Yeah,
for something this big, man, 30, 35, give him something to work with. But 20, that's a slap in the face. Yeah, and it's people say that's more than he's ever made. Gives a fuck. There's a lot of money up for grabs, and he should have a better percentage. Yeah, he should have a better cut. He really should.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing, but don't sign on the contract and then complain. You gotta see what you're signing before you sign it. You can't sign and be like, by the way, I want some more money. I mean,
but I think he was. It's kind of a catch-22 for him, because
he fought Anthony Joshua in front of 900 people. He's now fighting 90,000 more in front of 90,000 more people. That being said, you should be happy for what you get, Dillian White.
No, it don't work that way. What happened is that they said that this fight wasn't all that, and then it proved to sell out right away. So the UK fans were very interested in it, and it is making way more money than they projected. Even though Dillian White said, "I told y'all I was gonna have fans like that think this is a great matchup, and I should have got paid for that." So it don't work like that. It's like you're bringing people to the butts in the seats, right? Butts in the seats is supposed to equal more pay. He didn't get that. And the fact that he wanted the WBC, he wanted to finally get a crack at that WBC championship title, made him go ahead and sign it, even though he knew he was getting screwed.
Yeah, the question on butts in the seats, though, I think mainly are there for Fury.
Mostly, yeah.
Before we move on, there,
a lot of people don't really like Fury there. I mean, he's a gypsy king. them people, they don't really,
CJ says if White wins, just hand the undisputed world heavyweight championship to Oleksandr Usyk by default. Yeah.
I agree.
Mr. Steve Alexander.
I'm chopping at the bits at this one.
Always good to hear from Steve Alexander.
Hold on, I'm chopping at the bits for this one because I believe my father out here is about to make me a very rich person. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I would bet 10,000 on Crawford. He has too much heart and, of course, great boxing talent. This fight will come down to your will to win at any cost, and Crawford has that in spades.
Dad, you owe me $10,000, Dad.
Thank you, Pops.
I take that back. Accept it. I want that $10,000 in singles.
I'm thinking Spence is going to be the favorite. So, Mr. Alexander, please take that $10,000 to Vegas, because I think you'd be able to win a lot more money than you could off Rob.
Mr. Alexander, thank you so much for backing up Sakura A, and we'll talk later. We're going to talk.
All right, Rob.
There you go.
Rapid fire, my friend.
So I just have a couple of things and a couple of statements to be very brief. So, sometimes I do a breaking news on Rapid Fire, which this is breaking news. But, y'all, Amir Khan has suffered yet another loss outside of the ring. Amir Khan is unharmed after being robbed at gunpoint in London. So apparently the local thugs there think he has a glass chin as well, because they're taking watches, jewelry, all that off of Amir Khan in London. Please retire soon.
Like, why would you be? I mean, to me, it's like he's forgetting that inflation and everything is hardcore on these people, and he can't be walking around thinking that he's still a local, boxing celebrity. I mean, he was getting booed the other day at the Conor Benn fight. I'm just saying, he's not living in the same universe he was living in back in the day. He can no longer just roam the streets.
No, you can't be going out in public, yeah.
Yeah, why do you think Floyd has his, entourage with him and his security detail? You just can't do that. And they know Amir Khan got money. Like unusual type of cash. That was just, I mean, literally people shouldn't do that to another person, no matter how much more they have. But when you know they will, why, Amir Khan, would you be out here running around and walking around in London at that? Okay, people hungry around there, y'all. You needed to have you some people with you, some friends, or you should have got you security, something. I mean, because that just don't even make sense to me that you would put yourself at risk like that.
Yeah, no, I hate to hear that something like that happened. It's a good thing that he didn't get hurt, because if it was gunpoint, you know what can happen. Hopefully, he's all right and gets over it, and just be a little bit more careful in the future, and just good to know that you're doing okay, man.
Yeah.
It's a fucked up situation.
Sad world we live in.
Absolutely, and protect your. My point is, this is how Mama Bear talked to you. Protect yourself next time.
At all times.
At all times. You of all people should, Amir Khan. You of all people should. Now, my next statement that I want to make, and we've been touching on it all night here and there, and I'm glad that y'all didn't go into it deeper. But here's my statement, and it's a very broad statement to PBC. Okay? I appreciate the fact that PBC is willing and able to be dedicated to these fighters that they signed at the very beginning. But it is now time to let these guys go. I no longer want to see Josito Lopez. I no longer want to see Francisco Vargas. And I no longer want to see Yuri Gamboa or Robert Guerrero. And the list goes on. I no longer want to see these guys in these fights any longer. I appreciate the dedication. That's who helped start it. Your promotional company. That's who helped build those fights. It's time to move on. These younger guys are ready. They're stiffer. They're hungrier. And they're eating these older guys up. We need to see them fight each other, not these older statesmen. Go ahead, Lucas.
What if the older guys fight each other? I mean, it still makes, at least for, like, decent undercard fights, right? Like, we're talking, Guerrero, Gamboa on undercard, right? I mean, you got two decent-sized names. It's still somewhat attractive, but it's not up against, these young, hungry Thundercats or the elite guys. It's just, fighting the same level versus level.
About exhibition.
Yeah, like
no
B title.
No, the way it works.
Lucas,
hold on. The way it works is that the elite fight the elite. The up and comers are picking and choosing their way up, like we were talking earlier. It's just the way it works, and you pick your man and you take him down and you move on. It's boxing. It's the way it works.
Everybody's missing the point here. No.
Okay, bro.
No. PBC is holding on to these guys too long. They are. Let's talk about Ugas back in the day when he lost those first 3 fights or whatever happened there. Golden Boy dumped him. They dropped him. And yes, that worked out better for Ugas. That worked out better for PBC because we got these great fights from Ugas. And he was able to make some money. But he was a younger fighter then. You're banking on these older guys trying to do the same thing, and it's not happening. You're showing too much favoritism. No, hold on. You're showing too much favoritism for them because they helped start and build your company. We should not be seeing them fight these younger guys. We should not even be seeing them fight each other. You know why, Lucas? Because if that was the damn undercard, you wouldn't be watching it.
I just said I would watch it.
You would not be watching the undercard.
Yeah, he did. He just said he would watch them fight each other.
Yeah. I think at least that makes it a more even fight. They're fighting each other. Otherwise, you know who's going to win, right? This, at least, there's still some mystery there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, though. the mechanics of putting this thing together, the card itself. You have, in this particular case, Jose Cito, you have Vargas, and you have Gamboa. There's something that these guys bring to the table, and there's some recognition. So you have these up-and-comers fighting people who are accomplished in a sense.
You got name recognition,
where they are.
You got name recognition.
Hold on. Where they are in their career is a different story, but there's some recognition there. They add a lot to this card. They add a lot to this card, and they make that card work. You want people to buy this. It's showtime, so
they gotta recognize the names that they gotta recognize. Not just
let me ask y'all this.
Here, Isaac Cruz versus someone you never heard of. Do you think that's going to draw people in? What these guys do is draw people in, and I agree with you 100% too.
Thank you. But so let me ask y'all this then: were they even competitive fights? Not a single one.
Well.
You may not want to see like a Josito Lopez versus Victor Ortiz rematch, right? But maybe some people do. These people have followers too. Maybe Victor Ortiz gets his little bit of payback. Who cares? It brings a little bit of fun to it. It's a little bit of fun. Not all boxing is about a title fight. Not all boxing is contendership. Some of it is just a good fight to have. Hold on. Go ahead.
Lucas, to combat what you are saying, are you telling me that you would prefer or rather see a Josito Lopez Ortiz fight and not feature your up-and-coming fighters to see an Isaac Cruz? Is that what you're saying?
What they did.
No.
That's
not what I'm saying.
Answer the question.
Answer
the question.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not
what
they did. Not what I'm saying
Isaac
at all.
Cruz was featured here.
Right.
No, but
he was the feature.
But he's saying what Rob is trying
he is the up and comer.
But Rob is trying to allude to the fact that would you rather, like, since Lucas is okay with seeing these past fighters, fight each other on the undercard, he's saying, so you don't have a Isaac Cruz featured on the undercard because you got these older fighters. That's not what Lucas said. He's saying you sprinkle some of them in there as part of the undercard, not the full undercard.
Yeah, no, give it recognition.
You put these old fogies in there, you're taking away from the newer generation. Somebody said it earlier. Venezuela versus Cruz. Venezuela versus Cruz to them now sounds interesting. Why don't we see that damn fight then?
If you were on
why
the
don't we let
undercard,
them go at?
It's more like you're working for the A card, right? So if you're on the undercard, you're already seen as less than, right, than the main event. They are there just to serve and sell a little bit more tickets, or to at least add a little bit more value to that damn $80 pay-per-view price that they're jacking up, okay? That's all I'm talking about. I'm not talking about filling the whole damn card with a bunch of B title versus B title guys or guys that are all past the prime. But I'm saying some past the prime guys can make a good fight when they're fighting each other. That's all I'm saying. Put Berto in with a Bronner or something like that, and it can create at least a decent fight that people
It's a buzz. It's a card that people recognize the names.
Exactly.
But listen, my point is this. When you have these fighters that you signed in their prime, and then they start losing, yet some of them have not really made a lot of money yet. There is a fulfillment in allowing these fighters that have well-known names still get a little more payday, a little bit more. Because, guys, you really don't know, like, just how many boxers are, like, totally broke and have nothing to fall back on after their careers. At least when you're seeing these lesser opponents, so we're saying, or older opponents on these cards, it is fulfilling something that they need this money. They need that payday as well. And we're not thinking about that. All we're thinking about is it a good matchup? I don't like seeing fights that I know the outcome to. I'm telling you that right now. If I know the outcome to it, I'm not going to get hype about it. But I understand the financial issue of it is what they're really trying to do is get these older fighters some more money, a purse, because some of them were avoided, like a Gamboa. He was really avoided when he was in his prime. So he didn't make that kind of money in his prime that he's been able to make with these little short lightweights. Gamboa ain't no lightweight.
Yeah, but I don't see anything unusual.
But he's doing that. But he's doing these fights now at lightweight because he knows he needs to make these extra purses before retiring. This is the real reason that we get a Gamboa Cruz or a Josito Lopez, a new Crawley. This is why we get that, as well as it's a name on the new guy's record that people recognize.
Thank you. That's right.
No.
There's nothing unusual about a guy like Isaac Cruz at his point in his career fighting a guy like Gamboa. There's nothing unusual about it. It's perfectly reasonable because boxing works that way. It just does. It's just the way the sport works.
That's the reoccurring term that just keeps coming up this show.
I need y'all to listen to me. Exactly, Lucas. I need y'all to listen to me this time. That is the problem with current state boxing. And it can be changed if you feature the younger fighters in tougher fights. You have to match them up with tougher competition. You can't put Isaac Cruz against Gamboa after he fought Tank. That makes no sense. He just fought the best, and you bring him back down to a level. That's not helping the sport. And the reason being is because the way that the hierarchy falls right now is if Cruz lost big to Tank, he doesn't get that payday again. He doesn't. So to Shakira's point, you want them to get paid. You want them to make that even flow. They're not going to get that type of money if they lose one time bad. They put up one bad showing, they're not getting that type of money offered to them again.
It's never worked that way. Look at the best pound for pound out there right now, Canelo. He fought Golovkin twice, big fight.
Is he though?
He fought Jacobs, big fight. But then he also fought Liam Smith, and he fought his brother, and he fought Amir Khan in there. And not in that particular order, but they're still part of that way up. Now look at where he is. The top of the heap.
So
why? Because they played it right.
James,
it's just the way boxing works.
James, you're playing the exception to the rule, which is Canelo. But what did that do for Danny Jacobs? What did that do for Liam Smith? What did that do for those guys?
For those guys that are bringing...
Hold on.
That you mentioned that was so important was that payday.
So what have they done since?
They had their shot.
What have they done since?
Mentioned earlier, they got their payday.
Guess what? And that's it. And guess what? Triple G has to go back a third time to get that same payday.
Look, we've been talking
about... No, hold on. Listen to the point, damn it. You can't take one guy, put him up there, and say he's the sport, and then take all these other guys and make them fend for themselves. That's not right.
It's not right, but you know what? It's
got to happen. It's killing the sport.
It's got to happen, and it's been happening. In fact, you know,
it's not like they didn't fight at all.
The guys being brought up gradually are an exception. That does not happen a lot. That only happens when, one, they already bring a lot of followers. They already bring a lot of hype behind them, okay? Without that, you're not getting those careful steps. No, you work for me, bitch. Go make my money. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get thrown to those wolves. You're going to get fed to the Canelos. You're going to get fed to the Golovkins. That's how boxing is, okay? And unfortunately, most people are not on the plus side of that. Most people are on the underside of that. Most people are the jobbers. Most people are people getting thrown to other people before they're ready.
Because it switched, Lucas. It switched.
It's never switched. For every fighter that's brought up correctly, there is 8 to 10 that are being incorrectly brought up. Okay?
But they get paid.
It does not matter.
That is the cutoff.
That
is the cutoff.
No, they don't get paid. They get paid for being a last-minute replacement. They're not going to let them be in top shape to face some of these A-side fighters, number one. They're only going to get called in at the last minute. And they're not getting paid what somebody else would get paid with established name even an older fighter. They're not even getting paid what the older established fighters getting paid.
Shakur, why aren't we getting Benavidez versus Charlo?
Look, I'm going to break it down to you.
Somebody answer me that.
I agree with Charlo. This is a head.
That's coming, though.
Dude is a weight bully.
Why are we not getting it?
That fight's coming.
A Jamal Charlo.
Forget them excuses.
It's down the line, I think.
That is not an excuse. That is the truth.
Forget them excuses. Why are we not seeing that fight?
Because they're not in the same weight class. They're not even in the same weight class. They never will be.
They are in the same weight.
Always going to be bigger than everybody. I'm talking about real weight classes. I'm not talking about what weight he can make.
Make the weight on fight night. That's your weight.
Look, no, he's still way bigger than those fighters. I'm sorry. I just feel that way. He want to impress somebody. He gets up there as a cruiserweight and fight people that's his real weight. Period.
But Rob, if you remember, I mean, local shows, right? You'd have a guy 16-0 fighting a guy who's 2-28, right? Just padding that record, okay? And he works his way up, you know. You'll watch him, you know, fight other guys, and all of a sudden he's actually fighting a guy who's an even record or maybe even a winning record. And he, you know, slowly keeps doing that until he has to fight big fish. Unfortunately, some of those guys like Spence and Canelo are constantly the man in there. So everybody else is being fed to him slowly. All of those people that help build all those local fighters, all of those are the people that are being mistreated, just like you said. But unfortunately, that's just how boxing is. It's how it's always been. Does it need to change? Maybe you're right, but I don't see it ever doing that.
Yeah, that's what James was speaking on. He said that's just the way boxing works. Yeah. Can we change the status quo? It's kind of hard because local promoters as well as, you know, in between middle promoters, they are looking to get the opponent that will cost them the least amount, right? They have a budget for these cards and they want to stick to it. So they're choosing the least amount of money opponent as possible. And if they can, they're going to try to get them where they live in the same state as the fight so they don't have to pay for travel.
Well,
these are some of the issues that, I mean, can it change? I don't know. But these are some of the barriers to that.
Well, something has definitely changed because I'm even going back as early as seeing Kirkland's versus Angulo's going up. We don't have those type of fights even now. We don't even get to see those type of fights no more.
What would you consider Butaev versus Staniotis on this last weekend?
Yeah, that was
neck and neck.
So James, nobody knows those fighters. Nobody even knew who they were. When we were all following the sport, we knew Angulo.
What?
I was on the undercard that was not a part of pay-per-view. That
could have been.
That didn't have them get known.
I think they did that because they didn't want to steal the main event's thunder.
They did. It was a horrible fight. I had people watching it at my house leave.
Okay, well, I don't know what the hell was wrong with your people.
Which fight?
There was no
which fight
power
are you
in
talking
that
about?
fight.
That's
the Staniotis fight. There was
that
no
was the
power.
fight. He kept sending us
no power.
Talking about, no power. Neither one of these guys got power. No, those guys just had hellified chins. They are not from this country.
That was a beautiful fight. That was a beautiful fight.
That was some show enough fighting. Like,
yeah.
I love that fight for real.
We need to wrap it up though. It's been one of our longest actual shows. We usually only do a little over an hour, but we had a lot to talk about. Kareem, will we get a Floyd versus Canelo rematch? Hell to the no.
No.
Floyd can make money off fighting, you know, an MMA fighter or something else. He don't really need to be fighting the Canelo and getting hurt.
On a helipad.
On a helipad, yeah. But no, thank you all for tuning in and all the input. Love the fan feedback. It's always great. Don't forget to check us out.
Go back to the wide world of sports days.
I agree. I mean, we need that.
Friday night fights.
Friday night fights. What was the USA? Was that Sunday night fights or something like that on USA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, but what he's talking about is when you used to have to watch every sport in the world before you could get to the fight that you wanted to see. No, I don't want to go back to that.
Maybe there's a new age, like, app that they could do called DAZN, maybe that they could actually use it the way they should. But
well, they are coming on during the day, so.
Well, again, thank you all for tuning in. Check us out again next Tuesday, Tough Talk Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. As always, all social media at Heavy Bag Boxing. Have a good night.